Hello there and welcome back. I am Jenn Pike, your host, functional medicine diagnostic nutritionist, medical exercise specialist, and women's health and hormone practitioner. Today we are talking about what I see in practice to be probably the number one struggle that women have going on in their body when they are moving through perimenopause and into menopause. And what's interesting is that when I was looking into the research and I was looking at a lot of surveys that have been put out into the world in the last couple of years for women who are between the ages of 35 and 55. So in that age range of perimenopause and into menopause and post, sleep is oftentimes the number one struggle that women have. It was sleep, fatigue, and exhaustion, which, of course, when you're not getting sleep, you're going to be fatigued and exhausted. And then brain fog, which again, if you're not getting appropriate rest, anxiety, and depression, which again, if your body is not getting optimal rest, it's really difficult to feel grounded and to feel solid in your body. Now, we all know logically that sleep is important for us. We know this for our children. We don't let them just, go wild and not have any type of sleep structure. I think as parents, we're probably always saying, you need to get to bed. Sleep is the most important thing, optimize your health. I have teenagers now, and I am constantly saying to my kids, they're going to need so much therapy. I am constantly saying to my kids, you need to get to bed. You need to get to bed earlier. You need to get off your screens. You need to optimize your body's health in this way. This is the one thing that I can't do as a practitioner to support you all is get you to sleep. You have to be the one to initiate it. For all of you women that are listening in, number one, you're not going to do this and listen to this today for your children. That may be the byproduct down the road, but you are going to step into that seat of taking care of your own health today. And you're going to do this for yourself. The woman who is listening, who is maybe feeling a little tired and wishing that she had better sleep. Now, before we get into the actual episode today, all my tips, tricks, and solutions, I want you to hit the subscribe button down below so you never miss a show. Let's start off talking about this. I know for most of the women that I am supporting inside the Perimenopause Project and different courses that I'm teaching and talks that I'm doing around the world, that most women think, well, I'm not in perimenopause because I don't have hot flashes, I don't have night sweats, I'm not gaining a ton of weight yet, I don't have the vaginal dryness, my brain still feels pretty sharp, so I can't possibly be in perimenopause. Those are some symptoms, but there's over 100 symptoms of perimenopause. It's a tricky time of life when we're between the ages of 35 and 55 because it's like when you have babies and toddlers. You're like, are they teething? Are they just about to hit a development stage? Are they really sick? What's going on? It's the same thing in our bodies in that 20-year span. Do I have a thyroid issue? Is it just because I'm not sleeping? Is it perimenopause? What is going on? And so today I'm going to dial this in around focusing on the things that you need to think about in your day-to-day life and your lifestyle that can be supporting your sleep. Number one is obviously the time of bed that you are getting yourself into, right? So the timing of going to bed is really important. I was teaching about this the other day, and I am now at a point in my life where I go to bed fairly early, like 9:30. Lights out by 9:30. That is my goal all the time. And I have so many women that ask me, like, how is that even possible? And how do you have the discipline? So I want to break this down a little bit. First of all, I'm 45. My kids are 16 and almost 19. I'm at a very different stage of life where when my children were younger, not a chance could I have gotten myself to bed at 9 or 9:30 unless I was falling asleep in bed with them and then waking up and disrupting my own sleep to get back to bed. It just wasn't possible back then. I was also building a company and I was burning the candle at both ends. I was definitely feeling that in my adrenals and my nervous system. And my body, if I look back, I feel like I was more symptomatic back then when I wasn't even in the perimenopause window than I am today at 45 years old. And it is because of some of the things that I'm going to teach you today, sleep being the number one. So my first actual question to you is, what time do you go to bed? I was reading one of the polls that were done, and it stated that 25% of women in this age range are actually going to bed at midnight or later. They're going to bed like tomorrow. So goal number one would be, can you go to bed today? Can you get to bed before 11:59 p.m.? Can you get to bed before 11? In an ideal scenario, 10 to 10:30 being the latest of when you would shut things down and get yourself to bed would be ideal. That doesn't just happen where you lie in bed and you close your eyes and you're like, okay, body, it's time to go to sleep. And then boom, you go to bed. If you're a man, I sleep next to one of those. His head hits the pillow, boom, and he is out. Now, he doesn't always sleep through the night. And those can be for different reasons, like unstable blood sugar, issues going on with cortisol, so the adrenals not being well supported. There can be inflammation or gut issues going on in their body, different things happening. But for the most part, he falls asleep and he stays asleep. Now, for you as a woman, you might also have that. You might be like, I have no problem falling asleep, but I'm waking up between 1 and 3, or I'm waking up between 2 and 4, and I cannot get myself back to sleep. I'm telling you that to have a good night's sleep tonight, to start to train your body, because you have to train your body to be able to stay in that really good steady state of sleep between your REM sleep, your light sleep, and your deep sleep. It's just like we have to create a conducive environment for children. We don't just throw them in their room and close the door and then be like, you'll figure this out. We give their body cues, and I'm going to teach you cues to give your own body so that you can start tonight's good night's sleep in the morning. Let's talk about something that's really important, which is your nutrition. Nutrition is not only important because we need to make sure that we have stable blood sugar and we're getting enough of the daily nutrients in, right? Think of your macronutrients. So if you think protein and carbohydrates and fats and healthy fibers, but then also micronutrients. Those are the vitamins and the minerals. And these are really the spark plugs for our body in terms of our health and the cascading hormonal effects that happen in our body. I'm going to teach you today about melatonin and the role that things like B6 and zinc and magnesium play in your body's ability to produce a healthy enough amount of melatonin to help you fall asleep and to help you stay asleep. When you're starting off your day, first thing is you want to make sure you get some good light exposure. Now, I live in North America. This time of year when I'm waking up, it's still dark outside. So you could get an inexpensive full spectrum light box off of Amazon. You can literally get them for $30 or less. You could turn the lights on in your bathroom so you're getting that exposure to bright light in the morning. And that light, it's like you want to think, the sun comes up, body rises, cortisol rises. That is our internal mojo. That's what helps to get our body up and going. And so we need to be able to see that full spectrum light as early as you can when you wake. The next step is starting off to hydrate your body. So instead of waking up and going into coffee, which is stimulating right away, can you do some water in the morning with a little bit of sodium, a little bit of potassium, some electrolytes that are in there? So you could use an electrolyte powder. You could also do a little bit of coconut water, and you could do a little bit of warm water and some fresh lemon juice, little splash, like a half a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and a little bit of sea salt. Beautiful for the liver, fantastic for digestion, amazing for that adrenal support with that sodium that you've got in there. Something simple that you could do early in the morning. The next thing that I want you to think about is that as you're moving throughout your day and you are optimizing and getting in the appropriate amount of protein that you need. When we're talking about 100 grams of protein a day, which is typically the baseline minimum, 100 grams of protein isn't the same thing as 100 grams of chicken, right? 100 grams of chicken is honestly probably going to give you about 20 grams of protein. So you need to think for yourself, what do you have in your home that are your protein sources? So you can have animal protein sources like eggs and meat and fish and chicken and turkey and lamb, bison, whatever it is you choose. You can have plant-based sources like lentils and legumes and nuts and seeds and tofu and edamame and tempeh and different sources like that. But at the end of the day, regardless of where you're getting it from, you do need to make sure that A, you have them in your home, B, that you've done some prep. So we don't do meal prep in our household, we do food prep. So, we'll cook up a dozen chicken breasts at a time because there's 4 of us. We'll cook up, 8 salmon fillets so that we have the meal we're going to eat. And then we always have something that's ready in the fridge. I roast up loads of vegetables. So I roast up root vegetables like squash and pumpkin and sweet potato and rutabaga and white potato. So I have that in there. There's probably some rice that's in the fridge that's cooked up, and we'll do that for a few days. And then getting in greens and ample fiber from other things. So it could be your salads, it could be your berries. I just want you to start to think about creating a simplicity plate where when you eat, you're like, there's an ample protein source, probably about 30 grams a meal, healthy fiber coming from your plants, healthy carbohydrates, healthy fats. Very simple way of creating. Doesn't have to be recipe based. Not everything has to already be structured out. It's just being able to kind of eyeball and know in the beginning, yes, yes, and yes. If you were coming to me and saying, I'm really working on my body composition and I'm trying to dial in and build a lot of muscle and I'm trying to lose body fat, then I would say you need to have a more targeted macro approach. And we have episodes on the channel here that do talk about that. But right now, we're simply talking about the boring basics of eating well throughout the day to help to support a good night's sleep. As you get into later in the day, what you need to think about is, as I was saying, sun comes up, cortisol comes up. In the evening, as you're starting to wind down, you have to give your body the cue that you're starting to wind things down. We're not trying to live these lives, which I know is so hard in today's day and age, where every light is turned on in the house and there's loud, music or hustle that's going on, and you're on the computer late at night and you're on a handheld device like your phone or a Kindle or a tablet. You're crashing on the couch for hours on end watching Netflix, which, listen, I have no problem doing any of those things, but if you're struggling with your sleep, any one of those things done repeatedly, or if you stack a lot of those habits, is definitely going to impact your sleep. And you might be over here going, I don't know why I can't sleep. I took my magnesium and I still didn't sleep. I took some melatonin and I still didn't sleep. And it's because you got your body high before bed. You got high on artificial light. And at night, in order to produce melatonin, which that production, melatonin is being produced all over the body, but specific for our sleep, the brain, the pineal gland, which is part of the brain, is where you're producing the abundance of melatonin. And that's what's going to support you winding down, falling asleep, and staying asleep. So we want to get off a lot of those devices in the evening, if not all of those devices. You could even do things like use salt lamps in the house. You can buy softer light bulbs. You can buy amber or red light bulbs. You could have dimmers on your light switches around the house. Just going around and starting to shut down the things that aren't necessary. Notice in your bedroom how many of your plug-in devices, whether it's an alarm clock or it's phones or a charger or the fire alarms that are up on the ceilings, have all these little lights. We think that that would never make a difference. And I'm telling you, all of those little lights or things that are around you, if when you wake up in the middle of the night, you see those, if you can see your own hand come past your face, you have too much natural light that's coming into the space, or artificial light from those devices. You could wear an eye mask that very easily would tap those things out. You could also shut off anything that has those little lights. In our bedroom, I keep looking to the ceiling because the fire thing is here. I'm not in my bedroom, but we actually put tape across the lights. The fire alarm would still go off, like the smoke detector, but we put tape across those lights. So some things like that I need you to start to think about. Give your body the cues at night instead of coming back to work on the computer, which I get it. I run my own company. This shirt is really irritating me, folks. I'm just going to adjust it. I run my own company, so I understand, like, there's times where I'm working on the computer later in the evening, but I'm wearing blue blocking glasses. I'm lowering down the brightness on my computer screen. I'm trying to make sure that I don't have as much exposure. I'm not having on, the round ring light that is blaring in my eyeballs. One of the blessings of moving to the Pacific Coast, where we're on PST time, is that a lot of the classes I teach now are at 4 or 4:30 my time to accommodate for the Eastern Standard Time. And it's wonderful because I don't have to have this blaring light on my eyes anymore, like when I was teaching in the evenings. So it can be subtle things like that. Get yourself upstairs earlier. So, what I used to do was rush around the house trying to clean everything and get myself ahead for the next day. And instead, now what I do is I still do a tidy at the end of the day. I still like to be prepped for the following day, but I put a playlist on that's pretty chill. So I'm listening to chill music and I'm just tidying things up. My golden rule for myself now is I need to be upstairs by 9 o'clock at the latest. I really aim to get upstairs somewhere around 8:45. And when I go up, I go into the bathroom and I start my face care routine. And I spend time in there. My husband's always like, "What do you do?" I'll tell you what I do. I use my oil cleansing method. So I use either Skin Essence products or Joyous Health, and I massage my skin. I don't just like throw water at my face and catch it. I massage the oils into my skin. I wet a face cloth with really nice warm water. I spend time massaging it out. I use a toner on my skin. I apply any like little blemish stuff that I have going on. I massage oils and serums into my skin. I use my scalp massager and I massage my scalp. And, I get myself changed. I take my magnesium. If there's any other supplements, which we'll talk about supplements, I take those things. If it's the time of the month where I'm taking my progesterone, I take that. I love my evening routine. It feels so good. It feels so calming. Once I get out of the bathroom and I'm in our actual bedroom, usually 4 or 5 nights a week, I will use red light therapy. You don't need to have a red light. light, but we have one. So I use red light therapy for about 10 minutes. I sit in front of my red light, I stretch, I breathe, I meditate. I just like really focus on calming my nervous system down. And then when I get into bed, if I've had a particularly fiery day and my brain is just all over the place, I keep a journal and pen next to the bed and I will do a brain dump. So I will literally just take my pen and I will dump out whatever is taking up room in my heart and in my head, and I will get it out. And then if I have any extra energy, I will read a few pages and that's it. I go to sleep. Let's talk about in terms of supplements. Magnesium is beautiful. Magnesium is not a sedative. Magnesium is not going to knock you out, but it is a calming mineral. And it's a mineral that's involved in, like I was going to say, many hundreds of interactions in your body. So when we talk about nutrients, when we talk about minerals, magnesium is right up there at the top. There's a lot of different forms of magnesium. I like a magnesium in the evening that contains a bisglycinate. The glycine is very calming for the body, and that is part of what can help for sleep. So I'll use one in a capsule sometimes, usually between 400 and 600 milligrams. I like powder-based ones. I have a powder-based one from Within Us. That's like a BC Canadian-based company, and it's got magnesium and it's got some L-theanine, which is also a beautiful supplement, and just a little bit of collagen peptides. Now I'll just put that into my water like an hour before bed. If you love having something warm and soothing at night, you could do a tea like a lavender tea or a Tulsi tea like holy basil. You could do a sleepy time tea. Other supplements I really love in the evening would be reishi. That is an adaptogenic mushroom that can help to just calm the body. What's really beautiful about adaptogens is that if I had somebody who was feeling frazzled in the morning, I could give them the reishi. If I had somebody that was frazzled in the evening, I could give them the reishi. And it's going to support their body depending on what it is that needs to be neutralized or needs to be supported. Now, the other thing is using something that has melatonin. In our own body, we only produce about 0.3 to 0.5 milligrams of magnesium, or melatonin rather, in our own body. And this is important to know because if you look at a lot of products and a lot of supplements, there's oftentimes, 1, 3, 5, sometimes more. And I always recommend that you go low and slow. Some people's bodies respond beautifully to melatonin. My body responds great to melatonin, but I don't need a lot. I've discovered for my body, 3 milligrams is really like the top end. If I do more than 3 milligrams, I will feel groggy when I wake up. But if I stay in that like 1 to 3 milligram range, I have a great night's sleep. It doesn't bother me any other way. Some people actually get overstimulated by melatonin and it may not be their product of choice. I really like using melatonin in a sublingual or chewable form. And I love if you can get one that has a combination of 5-HTP as well as some of that L-theanine or sun-theanine. So there's a company I use, I have no affiliation with them, called Tranquil Sleep. It's by Natural Factors. And that product is beautiful, and it's a chewable that has melatonin, 5-HTP, and theanine. Those are some things that you can try for yourself, but here's the thing to know. You don't just take supplements and be like, the supplements are going to do the work. You still have to get your body into a rhythm and routine. You still have to send the cues of sleep. You still have to have stable blood sugar. You still need to support your nutrients in your body. We're always trying to bypass and just find the quick fix. Supplements are to supplement the lifestyle that you are living and the habits that you have. So this is just one new, elevation of habit that you are bringing in. It's important to understand that the reason some people may not respond well to purely melatonin is that there is a cascade, of effects that are happening in the body, and our hormones, which are chemicals, they're messengers. And so there's conversions going on. For our body to have an optimal good sleep, we need to be able to produce a healthy amount of tryptophan. There's lots of tryptophan-rich foods. That tryptophan turns into 5-HTP. 5-HTP then converts into serotonin, and serotonin into melatonin. Again, it's not just like running to take the melatonin and being like everything is fixed. We need to eat a healthy diet that's going to provide us the nutrients for these precursors to all be set off in action, and then use appropriate supplements and those that, come together in order to help that. The other thing as well too is that when we talk about different supplements and how they support one another, you need key nutrients for these actions to happen. And specifically in women, those that tend to be low that are super needed for this, B6. So maybe you're taking a B12. That's great. But what about a B complex and adding a little bit of additional B6 in? A lot of women do really well with that, especially in their luteal phase, in that second half of their cycle before their period. This can be tremendously helpful. Zinc is another one, and then the magnesium. So again, we're not trying to create shortcuts. We're trying to create, a more holistic approach. The body is being supported overall. With the circadian rhythm, before we, get to finish off here in a couple minutes, I just want to also remind you that you have to reset that every single day. So I could wake up with, bright light today and, dark night tonight and have a good night's sleep. That doesn't mean I just did, the one good deed for my body for the week. This resets every single day. So these are habits you're trying to get yourself into to stay on top of that for yourself. If you have difficulty with sleep, you are in perimenopause, you're also feeling a little bit more agitated than usual, you're feeling a little bit PMSy a little bit more often or more intensely than you used to, you may want to consider looking into some progesterone. Now, you want to talk to your provider about this. Bioidentical hormone replacement therapy for progesterone is going to be oral micronized. Prometrium is going to be the brand name of that. And typically it comes in 100, 200, 300, like in 100 milligram allotments. If you work with a compounding pharmacy who is a pharmacist, they just have different abilities to do different things, they can titrate that up. So when I started taking compounded progesterone, I started with 60 milligrams. Then I went up to 100, and 100 right now seems to be the sweet spot for my body. I take it in the second half of my cycle and my luteal phase leading into my period. And then once my period starts, I don't take my progesterone until day 11 of my cycle. And then I take day 11 until day 26 or until my period comes. I typically sit around a 25, 26 day cycle right now. Helps with sleep, helps with mood. I've had a great response. Some women need to take more. You do need to be careful though. So, as with anything. So if you're taking 300 milligrams of progesterone right now and it's working wonderful, that's great. Some women may try taking more and it's too much. They have bloating and water retention and they're starting to produce excess oil, sebum production. So now they're breaking out and getting acne. Just talk to your provider and drop it down. Some women may start progesterone and think, well, this isn't working because you aren't taking enough. So it's so important that you're not just self-dosing and trying to titrate up and down on your own, and that you're working with a provider who actually understands this. So functional medicine doctor, a functional medicine provider, a nurse practitioner, a naturopathic doctor, those are the ones that you want to be reaching out to work with. In summary, we want to create a supportive routine for our body from the time we wake until we want to go to bed. We really want to dial in on the evening routine. Like if all you could do is one thing right now, spend 30 minutes just like giving your body the cue and prepping yourself to go to bed. Think about blood sugar support, use supplements to support your body and all those micronutrients, and possibly consider using something like progesterone to help. I hope you found this informative. Any questions, you can pop them down below. Make sure once again that you've hit subscribe so that you do not miss any episodes, and I will see you back here next time.